Welcome to our video on Recessions and Depressions, brought to you by Kanjo.com. This isn't the most uplifting topic in the world, but it's something that a lot of people don't know much about, so I decided to create a video to explain the basics. Let's take a trip to the land of Kanjolia, which is currently going through a really severe recession. In fact, it's lasted almost 18 months. Our friends Mike and Millie are very concerned, and they don't really know what's going on, so they go to their friend Joe Kanjo for some advice. Their first question is, what is a recession, really? And Joe tells them a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. That's the technical definition. Now, economic growth is measured in gross domestic product, or GDP for short, which is the aggregate goods and services that a country produces in a given year, including everything from toothpaste to financial services, so on and so forth. But if you want to think about it more generally, a country is in recession when it experiences a prolonged decline in economic production. It's really that simple. When things are getting smaller, things are contracting, country's probably in a recession. So let's now move on to some of the causes of recessions. Why do recessions occur? This is a pretty complex topic, but there are 2 major reasons. The first is the collapse of a speculative bubble. And the credit crisis of 2008-2009 was a collapse of the speculative bubble. That's what caused the recession. We saw a lot of growth in the financial and real estate industries. Eventually, people realized that this stuff was overvalued, so that led to a contraction, a decline in production, and subsequently a recession. The other cause of recessions is hyperinflation. Hyperinflation occurs when things are getting more and more and more expensive. So with rising costs, people can't afford to buy as much. When they don't buy as much, spending contracts and the economy slows down. Again, we go into a recession. So these are the 2 major reasons. There are a lot of sub-reasons and issues that I haven't really discussed here, but these are the general ideas. A depression is basically just an extended recession that has the potential to cause broad economic harm. There's no technical definition for a recession, but in the Great Depression, unemployment peaked at 25%, GDP contracted by more than 10%, so it's basically a very long, severe, intense recession. Fortunately, we've only really had one very severe depression in the United States, the Great Depression, but there's no telling what might happen in the future. So I want to talk a little bit about what this means to you. What are the implications of a recession on your life? Well, there are 2 things that you should think about. The first thing is the possibility of a job loss. When the economy contracts, people have to shed their jobs in companies because companies aren't making as much money. So you got to think about the concept of a job loss. How can that affect you? Do you have enough emergency savings on hand? And ideally, you should have enough cash on hand to tide you through the recession. The other side to this is that you should reduce your spending. Ideally, things when you have less money on hand, if you lose your job, you should protect against that by cutting spending, cutting your discretionary spending, and trying to put a little bit more money away for a rainy day. So I hope this video has helped you understand the basics of recessions and depressions and a couple of the implications they can have on your life. Thank you very much for watching. For similar videos, I recommend you check out my website, www.kanjo.com.